I'm so excited to be here with a special guest, David Garrigues. If you've been practicing at all, you've probably learned a little bit about him. I learned about him maybe 10 years ago. And the first time I met him, he was holding a conch and was blowing into it. And it was really quite awakening. And I immediately fell in love with his style of teaching. And I'm incredibly grateful. So he's the creator of the Asana Kitchen, for those of you who want to check it out. Yeah, there's one. It's a great YouTube channel and resource. And he's authored a few books, The Vayu City, King of Asanas, and Maps and Musings. And numerous
more coming soon.
I'm sure more coming. He was certified in 3 years by the late Pattabhi Jois, and he studied Indian music as well as some other facets of music, I'm sure. And he's been a practitioner of this for 30 years. So he has a great depth in that regard as well. He's a accomplished artist, poet, musician, and was a skateboarder at one time. And he just gives and gives and gives. And I've been incredibly grateful just to have you as a mentor and teacher and hopefully friend throughout the years. So I'd like to welcome back David Garrigues.
Thank you, John. Wow.
So let's, the first question I have for you, David, is I want to know about this question about checking out versus checking in with regard to the Yoga Sutra 1-2. I want to know how do we know what we're practicing? Because this was a reoccurring theme in some of the questions that I talked about. So,
whoa, jumping right in. Well, I have a copy of the questions and somebody, so I'm going to rephrase it a little bit because the person asked me, what is Sutra 1-2 to you? Okay. And so to me, it's very simple actually. And I love this sutra, and really it's giving you the technique of yoga, period. That's all it is. That sutra, and it's called Nirodha, and it means cessation. And so it's just, but it's super helpful to know to me that it's like, it doesn't matter what else you're doing. You can be doing your asana, even your techniques within the asana. So every action, every breathing technique. So like Nadi Shodhana or Ujjayi, any facet of yoga, anything at all. It's like it's all funneling. It's all headed towards one thing. And the one super technique or super skill, you could say. And that's this Nirodha. And what that is to me is it's perfect. One word in Sanskrit perfectly describes it, John. It's so good. And it's pratibha. Such a beautiful word, even just to say, pratibha. And it means instantaneous, like a lightning strike. Like no time passes, and that is pratibha. And this is the state of mind that you want to come in. It's like you have to jog yourself into reality. And so we're constantly floating around, not in our bodies, not in the present moment, right? And in the past, in the future. And so it's such a rare instance to arrive in a suprasensory awakeness of now. And this is that. And so it's not a checking out, or if you want to call it a checking out, it's a checking out of the usual Maya, the usual illusion that the kind of fog that we're in. You check out of that and check in to something else, something immediate and something very now and very alive in your body, in your senses, in your intellect, just awake and responsive to right now.
Yeah. David, I'm sorry, but your video is lagging a little bit, and that might just be on my end. So I'm not sure, but yeah, I totally agree. It's checking into, for me, my understanding is that it is checking in, and there's this awareness that's created. But
yeah, and it's a skill. That's what I love about the idea that it's a technique, Nirodha. And so that big wide open sutra, yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the field of consciousness. It's like, whoa. No, it's simply a skill that you develop to be able to stop thinking and be here. And that's harder than it seems. You would think you don't need a skill or a technique or build a whole practice with all these auxiliary techniques to help you do it. But this is the human being's lot, to be alive and asleep to the fact of being alive.
Yeah, and I guess that one of the skills he tells us to use is Ashtanga. So what attracted you to Ashtanga? We'll kind of work back. Like what not just this, Ashtanga Vinyasa, but like the 8 limbs as they are.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of two little bit different things. And with Ashtanga itself, the Ashtanga method, right? I'll tell you, see, for one, the structure attracted me to it, which is interesting for me because I have certainly a kind of big part of me that doesn't like structure or detests or doesn't gravitate towards it. It's very unnatural to me.
Yeah, I think most of us.
What?
I think a lot of us that are kind of ironically attracted to Ashtanga, we're fighters, and then we get sucked into this, like, oh, wait, here's a format, and I'm seeing that. Like, I'm seeing that I fight that, I don't know. That's what happened for me. It was like, I came from this kind of punk rock skateboarding place where it was like, I was kind of always resisting. And then, I don't know, it forced me to let go of that.
Yeah, well, and also like resisting and dancing around and never really committing and starting to feel the effects of that, or like how that wasn't helping me in my life, right? That I wasn't getting where I envisioned, or like some yearning in me, I wasn't getting to something important in my life, right? So I embraced this structure, but it's more than that, because I also fell in love with yoga and with hatha yoga and with the whole thing, like the whole branch. So to me, so Ashtanga is a branch of hatha yoga, and so hatha yoga is kind of one of the 4 main branches, right? And its focus is on these physical kind of somatic. You use your body, you use your breathing, you use the mudras, seals, and energy movement, and all of that, the whole world of hatha yoga just fascinates me and gets me going, right? But that Ashtanga provides this rigorous structure that really represents to me the best of hatha yoga, and includes a lot of it. which is hard to do in one structured practice. And so,
in a lifetime.
And other, in a lifetime. What's that?
I said in a lifetime sometimes. It's hard to do.
Yeah. And no other style of yoga, to me, from what I found, and came even close to like the type of comprehensive sort of leading you into an inquiry. Like Ashtanga asks you to, or it gives you the setup to inquire. And so I go for it. And of course, I know this, go by this saying, every system of knowledge is also a system of ignorance. Okay, and so of course there's drawbacks and limitations, and as with any system. Okay, and so to me, it's like there's no perfect way to approach it, but Ashtanga hits all these marks for me that allow me the structure to really open up creatively and explore the Hatha yoga that I love. And yeah. Okay, and then now, but let's. I'm gonna ask myself a couple of questions for a second here.
You got it.
It's not ask myself. I'm actually, John. It's more that I have the list of questions, so I'm just gonna answer two of them, and one of them is your question about the 8 limbs themselves, like what drew me to that. So I'm gonna get to that. But first, I love how they just went right to it. Like they just said, what is yoga? That was their question.
Yeah.
It's like, right on, man. Okay, so, but I actually love that because it's like a Zen koan. It pretty much never ends, the answer, right? Like, so I took my notebook and I wrote, yoga is, probably you can't see that, but at the top, ... Yoga is ... And I got 2 pages worth, and I'm just going to read a few of them to you to kind of tick it off. Okay. And so what is yoga? That's a great question that you want to ask and answer for yourself continually. Okay, so yoga it's skill in action. It's and that comes from the Bhagavad Gita. That's its summary of yoga is yoga, skill in action. And this comes from my teacher. Yoga is relatedness. That's a beautiful one. And to me, that it means that it's the attempt to know and experience that everything is inextricably connected. So everything is inseparable. Everything in existence, and all this seeming divergence is related to everything else in a very profound and sacred way. Okay, so that the inquiry, the want to experience and live your life by that connectedness, that relatedness is yoga. And then also to earnestly attempt to live by spiritual principles is yoga. And big principles like justice, like human justice, love, and peace, non-violence, non-harming. These things, the 8 limbs. And and here's another idea about what yoga is. It's it's to do your best to perform this sacred duty that the universe gave you. Okay? That person that asked, what is yoga? It's to do your best to perform the sacred duty the universe gave you. And John.
Yes.
That's a huge one right there, right?
Yeah, because it
So,
changes, right?
because why?
Well,
No.
that
I
changes.
mean,
They
maybe
could do it.
no, how about it evolves?
Right.
Not that it changes, or it could change, but there's a certain something, a certain work, a certain theme or thread to your life, some kind of duty, something that you are best at, some work here. And that it's a funny thing that the universe has spun out, because it's giving you this work that you're to do, or this kind of way of being in the world, way of seeing the world, like a particular lens to view this whole predicament that we're all in. And you have your own unique one, and it was given to you, not randomly, but like, and so, because like, so we all are born with so many desires, right? We have our ego, and we have our attachments, and the things that we want, right? And the things that we think are worth pursuing and worth experiencing. And we go after those. It's part of what we're up to here, right? Trying to satisfy our desires. But life has given you this very special, deep task or work, okay? And it's what you're supposed to apply your desire to, okay? So you're supposed to siphon through, to sift through all the lesser desires, all the lesser wantings that are going on within you, and find the deep ones. What am I here for? What is the deep experience, the deep work, duty that I have to perform in my little allotment? And who knows when it's going to come to an end? Okay, and so it's called Dharma, and that's yoga. Okay, and here I'm almost done. The list goes on, but I want to give a few more. Okay.
Okay.
And so one is that yoga's to affirm your life. So it's to affirm your life, right? Not get down by trials, tribulations, obstacles, challenges, and to affirm all life. Okay, so it's this constant affirmation. That's Om. Okay, and it's also to dedicate yourself to ending suffering, all suffering. That is yoga. And then also it's to, in that sense, it's to understand that within the infinite potential for destruction, each person, we all have this potential for destructive violence, hatred, greed, right? But we still, within that all exists in the world and is happening. We still quest after the sublime tenderness, okay? The healing touch, the power of empathy, compassion, and love. Okay, that's yoga. All right, and then yoga is also to earnestly attempt to walk the 8 limbs, to work those limbs. And another person's question I love, I'm going to bring that out. And Bill, God bless you. So he wrote, so I was already, so is this the humble approach? He's like, I was already old when I discovered yoga. And after nearly a decade of study, I'm still not good at any of the limbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he says that the meaning of Sutra 123 escapes me entirely, which is Ishwara Pranidhana. And that, I want to talk to you about that in a minute.
Wow, we got to get to the wa too.
Okay, just 1 second. So, and then it says, I'm dedicated, I'm dedicated, but confident in my path and practice. Confidence in my path and practice is there, and to equal measure with doubt. As soon as light shines on me, it goes out again. And then he asks, can I still call myself a yogi? Or when can I call myself a yogi? And okay, so first of all, I want you to Bill, know this. Every single one of us that tries to walk the 8 limbs, like what you said, you've been practicing for nearly a decade and you're still not good at any of the limbs. Neither are we. No one is good at it. Okay, just dig it, people. Yeah, John, that's right. This is for one, this is hard. Okay, and Satya is one of the first part of the first limb, truthfulness. And so it's this huge recognition when you realize I'm not good at it. And you can go right down the list. I falter in my practice of the yamas. And my asana practice, come on, day after day, right?
It's a struggle.
And basically, when you can acknowledge that you basically make a muddle of it, you're getting somewhere. Okay, and when can you call yourself a yogi? Here's the key, Bill. It's when you know that you make a muddle of it and you persist anyway. That's when you can call yourself a yogi. Okay, and though, one other thing. You see, knowing that you're not good at it, whatever that means, that's what you have to inquire into, because you see, this is the thing, like I said, that you see, yoga breaks down into the smallest tasks. Okay, so that's why practice is put at a premium. It's because it's it's a laboratory. Okay, it's a place where you craft your skill in action, where you go from not being good at something to being good at it. And you can't do that starting big with big ideas or big hopes or dreams. You have to start with how you stamp your foot on the ground when you do a standing pose, and what is the rotation of your joints, and what is the flow of your breath. Okay, and the idea that there's this Dharma, okay, that each of us has this we're trying to come to this state of Nirodha, to stop all this constant thinking, to arrive here and now and realize, kind of, you could say, the reason that you were born, right? That there's this duty, this sacred work that you have to do in every instance, okay? And you start to get good at practicing yoga or doing anything when you accept your small little station, your small little work. And when you accept that you have all the equipment that you need to do that work. You see, because we spend so much time thinking, wanting something else. We want a different body. We want different flexibility, different strength, different mind, different job, right? We walk around so unsatisfied with what we have and who we are. And so we perceive ourselves as not good. And then also we don't dedicate ourselves to what we could be good at that would do it, right? So it's very important to make the best of what you have. okay, and to trust what you have, to trust your very parts, your own mind, your own body, and then you can. And practicing for a decade is not that long, Bill. Okay, right? That so very, very slowly do you turn action into skill in action. Okay, and so there you go.
David,
I can't hear you.
does the word yoga cause or create a divided sense? Does it just the word yoga imply that there is something to be yoked to, and this sets up already a failure?
Well, John, the thing is you got to have, to me, you need something to get a grip on, right? And so yes, the word yoga divides, but you need somewhere to start, something to grip. And yeah.
So that's Ishwar, right? That's the way to go according to most of these texts.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, kind of following up with Bill's thing, it's like this word wa is an implied or that Master Patanjali likes to use a lot. He uses a lot of was at the end of phrases.
Right. Okay. So what John's referring to is that sutra actually comes at the end of a long string of sutras that are, and the title of the cluster is Ways of Stopping Thought. Okay, so ways of bringing about this state of yoga or nirodha. And so that, and it says or. Okay, so it goes through the whole list and then it goes, or you can do this thing called Ishvara Pranidhana. And so though, you see, I feel like, are we diving into the rabbit's hole of Ishvara Pranidhana? I mean, I'm ready to.
I guess my question was more just about how it seems like we're supposed to have this dharma, as you say, like a directive, and it's laid out. But then on the other hand, it conflicts with, it seems like Patanjali is at least giving options. Does that make sense? Like he's like, even the verse, Maitri Karuna Mudito Pekshanam Sukha Dukkha, then it comes after, then he says, or Prachardana Vidarana Byamva, or you can try to extend your exhale. If you can't do all of those four immeasurables, then you can do this wa. You can do this. And so it's like, he's like throwing the whole book at us of all these different options. So my question is, if we're trying to do a dharma, then it seems to conflict with these or statements, and it seems like
but it doesn't. See, this is the thing, John. You see, it seems to me it's very natural to start off with the world of possibilities, right? So many things you could do, so many ways you could be, so many ways you could spend your time and energy. Right, so many people you could love, but life is slowly kind of it keeps getting smaller and smaller in a way, like, or more specific, you could say. Starts off general and becomes more and more specific according to what's most suitable to you. You see, and so it's not like the universe decides you're going to be this and it's going to happen like this. No, it's way more organic process. But think, each person is so different, so unique. And so it makes sense that what is suitable to you, what works for you, what really turns you on and gets you inspired it's gonna vary. It's gonna be different from other people, and so you're to select from these menus, John, and according to what works for you. So right, and you leave some of them behind. You don't make use of all of the ors.
Yeah.
And this is key.
It's just coming to mind. One of my students asked, "You're interested in the idea of gesture and in your practice, and does the idea of gesture carry over into your rest of your life, like when you're cooking or making coffee or talking on a Zoom call?"
Yeah. Yes. So, and again, so this gesture, it means a purposeful movement, right? So it's the difference between just a movement and a gesture is that one has intention behind it. It has purpose. And I call it the crouch and spring. So that, and I apply it to every transition in practice so that we do things dynamically. We set up for the action, so we prepare, then we follow through into pure action and go to somewhere definite, wherever that is. And so yes, it happens throughout the day. You're gesturing, and making coffee is a perfect series of gestures. But what's cool about the whole idea of the gesture is that you can say that in this huge sense that Dharma, that doing your sacred duty is the grand gesture of your life. It's like what all these mini gestures are leading to, or kind of taking you to some kind of, I love how the poet Mani Rao says it in the Bhagavad Gita. She does this poetic translation, and she calls it self. She says self is the ultimate you. I love that. Okay, so it's like you're trying to become the ultimate you, and how you do that is through your gestures. It's like, what's your attitude? What's the dynamic move of your life? And how are you going about doing your things?
Yeah.
And
is that,
and then one other thing,
go ahead.
John, one sec, that also behind the gesture, or like the intention, because it's a movement with purpose. Partly it's to make a virtuous move. And to me, that has these three aspects. Virtue it's correct, meaning like ethically or morally, it's correct, your action. And then it's suitable is the second one. So it fits the circumstances, and it fits you, and it fits the predicament that you're in. Right. And sometimes those are not the same. Like what's morally right might not fit, or what's suitable kind of is not morally right. And so you've got to juxtapose these three things to get virtue. And the third one is this beauty. There's an aesthetic quality that's built into nature itself, that nature, the whole patterning of the world is based on beauty, on symmetry and order. And so your gestures, your actions throughout the day, your movements, you're trying to kind of achieve this virtue. And you're hoping that your life, when you look back upon it, that you've lived a virtuous life because you've devoted yourself to the sacred duty, to your sacred duty, that you've inquired within yourself and determined, yes, this is why I am here, or right, this is the pith for me. This represents the highest or the ultimate. Okay, yeah. What were you going to say, John?
Oh, so I have to kind of do my whole little reality thing.
I
So
love the reality thing.
is there an ultimate self that is independent then?
Well, that's another beautiful thing about it. That the paradox of the whole thing, and because this idea of doing your dharma or fulfilling, becoming the ultimate you, is a process of deep individuation. Like I said, it's from all the possibilities, it's narrowing and getting more specific about who am I? What am I good at? What are my strengths? What are my real interests? What are my most worthy interests? Right? And so it's very individual. Okay, but the paradox is, to me, the ultimate is, it has to be transcendent. It has to be universal. Like that, because we're talking about the potential, the human potential, okay, my human potential, but we're talking about the potential of humanity, right? And so to me, the ultimate me, I can only be the ultimate me if my scope includes everything, everyone, right? And so that, because the relatedness, everything is interconnected. And so me, little David, excelling or prospering, that's great. But what about the rest? Like, if I don't have equal concern out for everything going on out there, then I can't become the ultimate me.
Yeah, that's so true. On this same end, as you know, nidra is listed as a klesha, like sleep. So, but
hey, no, you got that. It's a vritti.
Vritti, sorry, vritti. Yeah, sorry, not a klesha. But yeah, you're right. It's a vritti, but it's also necessary. Like it's a seemingly, at least, maybe not to a yogi.
No, John.
But okay, just first question, quick.
8 hours of sleep.
Do you crouch and spring to your bed, and do you gesture while it's there, or and also following up on that, how do you sustain your personal energy through your day and practice, and how do you gauge that? Or do you gauge that through your practice? This is another question one of my students wrote. How does your yoga practice help you sustain and manage your personal energy?
Okay, but that is a funny question. So the people that study with me, that I divide the study up very distinctly in the practice itself as that so you can decide, I'm working on the transition, right? So the movement into the pose, or I'm working on the position itself. Okay, and it's very helpful for tracking awareness to be, okay, now I'm in a transition. So this is my study. And now I'm in the state of the asana. I've stopped moving, and now this is a different course of study. Okay, and then, John, so within that state of the asana, within the moment of stillness, okay, there's gesturing there. Okay, there's subtle gestures, there's actions taking place throughout the body to help avoid a tamasic stillness. Okay, so tamasic meaning lethargic, dull, unconscious, habit-bound. Okay, so there's a certain amount of gesturing and action that takes place even in stillness. But remember that nirodha, stillness, or the ability to stop thought, stop movement, stop thought, that's the technique. That's taking you to somewhere, which is the Sutra 3, which says drashtu swarupe avasthanam. So and that's this Dharma thing. It says that when you stop the thoughts, then you abide in your intrinsic essence as seer of the world, and this visionary, which is, to me, that's your sacred duty, is you have a vision of the world and you live it out. Okay, but so when you're asleep, John, what the heck is going on? And even when you're in a very deep meditation state, so there's a kind of winding down into this stillness, into what I call holy inertia. Okay, so tamasguna is not just lethargy or darkness or heaviness or unconsciousness, right? It's also this just not moving. You could say it's total, pure, to be purely there without any movement, no, any desire to be anywhere else. And so it's like what you're saying, there's no more prop, there's no more word yoga, there's no more anything to hold you up and to like help you out. And it's because you don't need it.
Yeah.
And so that's that. And then in terms of the energy, well, so look at this, you guys. To me, like I obsess about yoga. Okay. So I live it all day, teaching, practicing. And see, this is the hard part about Dharma, you guys, is that the nature of the work, that like it's a sacrifice to go into that work, whatever it is for you. Like it's built in. Like the universe doesn't just give you the work and then go, here, it's so easy, just go do it. No, it gives you you're terrified. Okay, it gives you fear. It gives you all these obstacles, so that between who you are and your sacred duty is an arduous journey that takes immense self-effort. And it's called, in the Yoga Vasista, it says, to the point of gnashing your teeth, like it puts it mildly, right? So there's an incredible expenditure of energy to do a Dharma. Okay, it takes from you. You give and give and give, and that's hard. Okay, and so just a second, I'm coming to that. So with the practice, then, what I will say is that your practice, even if you're a yogi, and that's, let's just say it this way. Nobody's practice is their Dharma. Okay? Your practice supports your work. It makes you more ready to do it. It makes you stronger and more flexible so you can do whatever it is you need to do. And so that's what practice does, is it charges your batteries. It gives you strength, gives you power, and you keep returning to it. So you go out in the day doing your duties and you get depleted. You get depleted in body, in energy, in your attitudes, like, because there's so many challenges all day. Okay, but then practice comes back around and there it is, the anchor. It builds you back up, makes you ready to be courageous again. And so for me, I like what John said. I mean, and I hope I'm not being conceited, but I do give, or in my mind, or it comes out of me, right? That I go for it.
You have that aspiration. And I think that's like, I mean, it's quite obvious. And you're like, we love it.
and it's hard on me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not pretending that it takes a toll on me, you guys. And it's hard in a way because that the regenerating through yoga is it's harder for me, partly because that's part of my work too. It's like they get a little bit mixed up. And so sometimes it's hard to gauge whether my practice is actually helping me manage my energy. But in an overall sense, there's no question. Just all you have to do is imagine life without that practice, and you'll jump on your mat immediately, right? It's like that practice feeds you, and just know it. And though, remember though, since it is the microcosm, it's the laboratory, it means your ego is going to infiltrate in there. Your harmful attachments and your kleshas, right? The root causes of pain are going to play out. And so you can't just say your practice always feeds you. Sometimes you work wrong, and you have to sort through within your practice, right? And also the fact that your practice raises up your shadow and shows you your ego, or shows you different parts about yourself that you may not want to look at. Well, that's tiring. That's hard in itself. Okay. And so we don't want to paint, I don't want to paint a rosy picture. I mean, practice is messy. Okay. It's a challenging medium, and you've got to touch that, what I said, this sublime tenderness, this, know the power of empathy, and the power of healing touch, meaning your own touch. And it can come from adjustments or different things like that, but I'm talking about listening and being there with yourself, using your senses to really care for yourself, right? And but understand the challenges that we're all facing, and be forgiving in that. Yeah. See, you guys, I'll tell you this. John and I, we met yesterday and went over the questions, and I told him not to ask me that question, and he went in and asked me. John, bad man. But the reason why is because it's a sticky wicket. That seems like an innocent question, but it's actually quite challenging to negotiate.
You mentioned, just give me 1 second. So there's the verse from Matthew, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And from the Gita, it calls us to think that we're not the doer. And in the Yoga Vasishta you just mentioned, this verse that keeps coming up that I really love is, when a crow alights, our incorrect thinking is thinking that when a crow alights on a coconut tree, that at that exact moment, the crow caused the coconut to fall. So we're fundamentally creating this story. It says this verse over and over. I'm sure you've read it. That's just like we're misunderstanding. We've created this story of, I did this and I did that. But do you think that we can get our power, get our energy supply from, thinking of this greater good, as you said? Like, or whatever you want to call that force, this Vishvam, this whole entire entity of, or is that still a story?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it is a story. Exactly. But here's what I say to that, John. At least it's a good story. Okay. And so, you see, like, I love how James Hillman, his book, The Soul's Code, it's about this idea of a Dharma of calling. That's what it's called, of character and calling. And so one of the things he says is that when you're trying to understand like whatever this sacred work is that you have to do, or this Dharma to fulfill, that you have to go back and revision your past. Okay. And because we tend to do exactly what you said. We have this locked in set of memories of who we are, who we were leading up to who we are. Right. And with that comes both kind of strengths and weaknesses. Like, because in some ways, the story we've built about ourselves up to this point is, or helped us to get to wherever we are, right? But then it's also holds us back because what, like that sacred text point out, that the crow landing on the branch did not make the coconut fall. That relationship didn't exist. Okay. And so we make all kinds of fixed ideas about things that aren't corresponding to reality. Okay. So in revisioning your past, you scan back through and try to see, because like James Hillman's a psychologist, so he's coming from that point of view, and a lot of time is devoted to trauma, right? The darkness of the past, and very little on the light. And so he tells you to go back and look at the most positive, loving memories that you have, basically. And look, kind of think of your past as something entirely different than what you're used to thinking of it as. And then it allows you to think of your future differently, your present and your future differently. And it's funny, like when I go back and do that, John, and it's funny because then it's true that I build another story that leads up to like, oh, I'm doing my Dharma, which is, it's funny because those stories they're such props, you guys, right, John? They're like the universe. It's like, okay, we need to be in kindergarten here, and what I love, I wish I could find it right now. If you look deep into the word aparigraha, the fifth yama, means non-possessiveness, but it gets radical, John. It basically says that you don't. Parigraha is the word. Okay, aparigraha it's the opposite of parigraha. Okay, so if you look up parigraha, it gets to, it says like parigraha is understanding. It's solutions, it's conclusions, it's logic, it's basically anything at all, right? You don't need understanding. It's even grace is there. So if you put that in the opposite, to practice aparigraha is to not need grace. You don't need the universe to have given you a sacred duty. You don't need to understand what everything is about, what your life is about, and it doesn't have to connect a bunch of dots. But what's amazing is this is yoga. This is the 8 limbs telling you this. So it's not that when you drop all this needing to understand in this logical way, that there won't be meaning anymore, right?
Yeah.
No, that's how you get to the pith of life, the real depth, the what it's all about.
Before death, though, and this is, I just want to get to this one question that someone asked. about how to practice throughout our life, specifically with regard to aging. And my kind of follow-up to that would be like, should we practice with the same vigor, the same amount of fullness throughout our life, whatever numerical age or whatever sickness level we might be at, or other times when we should just like, take it easy? And how do we discern, or how do we, what's the advice specifically, I'm quoting this person, for people who are practicing with illness or injuries?
All right, so I love that question. And so for one thing, I want to tell you that, like, there was that Sister Barbara that Joy and we interviewed her for Joy's Nun movie, I Am That. And this woman was 80 something years old, and she had been cloistered for whatever, 60 years or something. And so we were talking to her from behind the bars, right? She's literally in prison behind bars. And she said that. She goes, "We're in prison in here and we love it."
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, holy cow. Right. But this is all of us. You understand, we are all in prison, meaning that in order to be happy, we have to yoke ourselves to a strenuous discipline. Everybody. Okay. And it is amazing how demanding life is and what it takes to be healthy. Okay. And so when you have an illness or chronic pain, you're basically just closer to that truth. It's almost like, in a terrible way, the universe gives you that gift. It puts you in touch with the limits, and it makes it so that you have to try to be the very best you can be every day, or you're going to pay. Okay. And you know it, the people that are so you have to really explore the line between what you can control and what you cannot control. Okay. And what you can control, you've got to have the discipline to do it. So like you can see, what's the effect of your diet on your condition? What's the effect of your rest? What's the effect of your practice? These core health part of your health regime, you've got to look carefully at those and probe deeply into what you can do to minimize your pain and suffering and maximize your well-being. Okay, and so then your practice is this laboratory, and to me, again, here's the thing, John. So it goes back to why I love Hatha Yoga. Okay, Hatha Yoga as a branch of yoga is an incredible health, kind of culture of health, like techniques for health. That's what you could say. It's a body of techniques and very physical, somatic things you can do. And so, but it's a technology. Okay, it takes years to know the technology and to be skilled in using it. Okay, and that's where Ashtanga comes in. You yoke yourself to this really quite strenuous and comprehensive thing, and very regimented. Okay, but through the time of doing that, the massive repetition of the structure within the system, you begin to learn Hatha Yoga. You get skill in the technology, and then you start to apply that technology individually. Okay, so the older you get, the longer you practice, the more you customize it and individualize it, you branch off. And so you don't think of your yoga as Ashtanga. I don't do first series today and then I do second on Wednesdays. No, you're doing Hatha yoga. Okay, and what does that mean? What are those set of techniques you're applying? And you do it according to what helps you. Okay, and it's an interesting part about Hatha yoga because it is independent. Okay, like Ashtanga, it's the wide road. It's like the highway kind of that takes you into the territory. But after you get to the territory, the roads get thinner and thinner until there's no more roads. And then you have to make your road. You have to figure out where you're going. And it really is up to you. But you see, we're all in that predicament. And if you think that a doctor or a psychologist or somebody over here can tell you ultimately, it's just not true. It's like you are your greatest resource. Okay, and you're your best chance of minimizing your pain and maximizing your well-being. And for me, see, and this, you asked that question about props, and me, I've just blown the lid off of that. Just listen here, people. Props are a miracle from heaven. They without props, I don't know what I will do. Because that's like, I need to really explore to get at this deep healing I'm seeking. Okay, one little rigid practice of 5 breaths going through a series day after day, that's not going to cut it. I'm sorry. And putting limits like you can't use a wall or a pad or a chair, I'm sorry, that just does not help me.
Yeah.
Whereas the opposite does.
I see it kind of though, David, as like using both, using like an aim towards the vinyasa and the best you can do. But also, like when you need a prop, you don't need permission. You know, like this is a big, thing that came through my head like the last 10 years is like, I don't need permission to grab a prop. However, I want to get rid of that vinyasa of grabbing the prop because it doesn't exist. Like the vinyasa count for grabbing the prop, eventually I want to lose it because it's, to me, the best props, as you said, are in your own mind, like that your self prop. So the prop in my hands, it has neurons in it, has consciousness, whereas the foam block has a little less, is at least discerned.
Yeah. But it does go back to the whole thing that we started with, which was that I took up Ashtanga because of the structure, and I still love that structure. Okay, so it's not that I don't, and I loved what you said, to the best of your ability. Okay, and so there's a dance there.
Yeah.
Okay, that between what do you actually get from that vinyasa, where you like the counted primary or the counted intermediate, like and there's a lot to gain.
Yeah, it can set the sail. If you're using the wind, it's just like tacking across an ocean in a boat. If you know how to use the wind properly, you can catch, and like when I practice, I'm usually just like getting tossed. But I imagine someone who knows how to use the vinyasa will just like set the sail to prana and just cross
exactly. And And so you're not going to throw it out. Like, you're going to make best use of it, but also come on. When you log in the months and the years, you earn a little freedom to play. Or at least I do. But every person has to decide for themselves, like, and that's the beauty of it. Some people would want to stay more strict to the how the system is noted, and then that's going to be their own research theme. And I personally, I don't know that theme because I have not gone that route. And my body didn't want me to. But if your body wants you to, then go to explore. So partly though, I have given myself to trust my body and to trust my my mind and the response that I'm receiving from my practice. And I also do what you said, John. I do my best to honor the system, and yet I'm responsive in the moment. So,
David, we're going to open the room for chat to take field questions at this point. So whoever, I think Lindsay or Anna, if you can go ahead and open that, and we'll take some questions from some of the people that are here. If you can hear me, David, I'll go ahead and start asking. So, or maybe I'll wait.
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Someone, Yolanda asks, the day after rest seems to be very difficult to practice. Why is it that it's the day after? It seems like after you rest, I guess is what she's alluding to, is that you would be more able. So, and have you, she doesn't ask this, but have you experienced sort of that? I can say that I have, like there's, like a constriction that happens.
Yeah, but I mean, it's, if you try the other way of not taking rest, you'll see that it's not, that doesn't work either. So
yeah.
kind of just making the best of it, and listening to your body when after the day of rest, and not trying to force. And you can also see that sometimes it doesn't work that way if you really observe.
Yeah.
But it might as a regular pattern, and you just accommodate it and enjoy that day of rest.
Here's another really good question. Do you have advice on how one finds their Dharma?
Well, so it's interesting. The word pranidhana. See, we think of it as surrender, or bowing to.
Yeah.
But really it has these ideas, which is like great effort, laying attention on, and vehement desire. Okay, and so those things, you've got to care. You've got to really embrace that idea that there's some sacred work for you, some kind of vision or seeing, and attend to that, even with when not knowing. And for me, I spent at least 10 years in a lot of pain before I discovered yoga. A lot of mental, emotional, and spiritual anguish, searching for some way to feel like I'm making a difference. You know, like, and I have that funny story about how I did career counseling for 1 year, right? You're supposed to go in and take a few tests and, you know, come out with some idea of like what to do. I was in it for a year, and the woman, we still didn't know. And she handed me a book by Marie-Louise von Franz called Puer Aeternus, the eternal youth, and said, this is you. You can't grow up, right? And it's funny because the cure for this, basically the cure for the Puer Aeternus is to work at something, right? But I didn't know what, and it's funny, like, but partly it's like, if it's that important to you, then it can take time to actually develop and to get understanding. And I absolutely love the idea of revisioning your past. And also somebody asked about Samadhi in the thing, and they said that they can't claim to have experienced it. And to me, that's a real tragedy about the word Samadhi, that it's been kind of relegated to the highest kind of realms of kind of yogic power, when it's actually very basic human things. It means absorption, and absorption, it means to be fascinated with. It's like a spell gets cast upon you around that object. It means enraptured, you see. And so find out, go into, and Samadhi might be a grand technique. It might be an ultimate yoga technique like Nirodha, and it might be worth putting in that high place. But it's also a small, so you could say there's a little Samadhi and great Samadhi. And what I suggest, if you want to know your Dharma, go into the littlest instances of Samadhi as often as possible. Find out what you care about, what draws your attention and fascinates you to the degree where you're in a trance, and then follow that.
That's great. Thank you. Unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time. What I'd like is for David to maybe tell us a little bit about some of the projects that he has coming up. And if you can.
Okay, well, I have one that I'm going to tell you. I've got some of my book, Maps and Musings, and the physical copy. Okay, and I'm going to be offering kind of customized versions for sale. So you can buy the regular one, no problem. But you can also buy one where I write you a little mini poem or some kind of personal inspiration or drawing right on the book. Okay, and so you can find out information about that on my website. And this book it's quite a volume of, what is it, Joy? Maps and Musings.
It's really great.
Essays, poems, it's different reflections on yoga. And it's a very unique book in the Hatha yoga world. It's not too many like that one.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Be Here Now book from your, and that there's like all of these jotting downs and things that, and it doesn't have like that normal kind of somewhat, boring structure of a book. That there's all of these little cuttings and pastings that I really enjoy about it, and art.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast, and it's good to connect with you.
Yeah, it's nice to connect with you as always. I've really,
Goofy footers unite.
yeah. Hope we can do this again sometime. And we'll let Lindsay take it away. Thanks everybody for joining in, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you, John, and thank you, David, and thanks to all of you who joined today. We are encouraging donations for today's event to directrelief.org, and please visit the Contemplative Sciences Center website and donate there if you are able to continue to help us to support these kinds of programs. And certainly we hope that you'll be back with us next Friday. Thanks, everyone.